Okay, what's going on, y'all? So, today I was watching a very insightful and interesting YouTube video by a young lady named Bobo and her friend. I don't know her friend's name. Um, they were discussing compromising and settling in relationships, right? In relationships and friendships, dating relationships, couples relationships, and friendships in general, right? So they made a comment, several comments that irritated my soul, okay? Because it made me laugh, but it's a disconnect, and it's not a slight, it's a huge gap in their understanding. it's it's a I don't even know what you want to call it. It's a gap in their understanding, okay? It's a disconnection, all right? Clearly there's something wrong with their phone line. The call got dropped, you know what I'm saying? Like, whatever message they were trying to send to their viewers, i.e. me, in that initial moment, it didn't register. Like, I got it, but it was just like, I'm sorry, I have to disagree with you. You know what I'm saying? Like, I wish I was in that podcast or in that room so I can interrupt you and say, baby, you're wrong here. I understand what you're saying, but let me tell you where you're wrong, okay? Because you're definitely very wrong, all right? So they said something about in relationships, in especially dating relationships, they were first giving off their ideals of red flags and pink flags. And a red flag is basically a very urgent, a very urgent, what do you want to call it? A very urgent kind of pet peeve, shall we say, that'll cause you to ghost that person or just not continue on in that relationship at all. Not cause you to ghost that person when you were initially talking, or to have that first initial meeting with their representative and not have that go anywhere, off bucks. Like, it's just over. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's no reason to continue on communicating. We're just not gonna see eye to eye. This is gonna go nowhere. You know what I mean? So they were saying red flags and then pink flags. Pink flags are like microaggressions. Like, they're miniature pet peeves that can cause you to be like, I don't like that, but that's something that I might could work with, and hopefully that they'll change in the later on in life, if there's any type of longevity to this relationship. That pink flag has been brought to my attention. I will say something about it, and maybe we can compromise and change something so we can come to some type of understanding, some type of harmonious state of being together, okay? But that's not what their suggestions were. Funny, but it's just like, come on now, let's not. But the one that really got to me was their Bobo was the one who, to say it bluntly, hey girl, I'm pointing you out. But she said something about your standards, bringing in your high standards and expectations, like the comparison between the two, and how if your expectations are too high, or if you have no expectations at all, that could bring a certain hindrance to your standards and your boundaries as a person and within your relationships, right? So she was saying basically how if you have nobody around you, they were both saying how basically if you have nobody around you, it could be you, it could be your environment, or it could be, you know, that person, period, right? And then they were saying something about how, what else did they say? Your standards, if they're not being met or if they're too high, then that's on you. You basically shouldn't have too high of expectations or standards for people to meet in your relationships, because they're too unattainable, or they're basically, that standard is too high and your expectations are too high. Then you basically should lower them. You should lower your expectations. You should lower your standards in order for you to be with somebody. Baby, what? Like, why would I do that? Why would I ever? Honey, like, basically, this is my analogy, right? Because I know what I bring to the table, you know, potentially and within this very moment, right? And it's like they were saying how if you don't love yourself, you basically don't have any love for yourself and all this extra stuff. And it's just like, honey, if I already love myself enough to continue doing what I'm doing and to handle situations accordingly, it's just like, why would I want to be with somebody that isn't adding to that love? You know what I mean? If I'm with somebody and this is what I'm doing this, I'm doing that, and a third, and it's just like I'm trying to manifest and like give and take and like basically fill myself up with the love that I deserve, that I already cultivated within myself in my 26 years of life. Okay? And it's like you have these expectations and you have these standards for yourself and other people. And it's like, okay, I'm willing to compromise. But that compromisation has to be set in stone, for one. It has to be set in stone. And it shouldn't be broken unless it's for a completely uncontrollable situation. You know what I'm saying? Because there's things that you can control and there's things that you can't control. You know what I mean? And 9 times out of 10, you have a lot of control over your behaviors. You know? In communication and in, you know, emotions. They say they're uncontrollable, but it's just like you can control that. You can control how you handle yourself. You can control how you communicate. You can control how you talk to somebody. You can control numerous things. You know what I'm saying? Some things that you can't control, missing the bus. You were there on time, the bus broke down, missing the bus, or never getting on the bus to go to work. You know what I'm saying? Because you left at 8:30, the bus is supposed to come at 8:45. Your bus stop is literally 5 minutes away from your place. It never comes. You have to call. You either you call, you find out what's going on with that bus, or you get a lift. You know what I'm saying? You can't control the bus breaking down. That's not something that you can control. You didn't do that. I hope you didn't do it. But it's just like you can plan everything accordingly, and stuff can happen that's part of the universe, part of God working. You know, there's different factors within the universe that's causing this situation to happen to you. You know what I'm saying? And it's sometimes you can control it. Sometimes it can be for the best outcome, for the betterment of yourself, so you can grow from it. Or sometimes it happens so you can hit a roadblock and you can readjust and you can analyze and you can figure out like, oh, how can I maneuver through this or around this to get to my ending goal? Okay? And if your goal is a relationship, then first of all, you need to have one within yourself, and it needs to be a healthy one. Okay? It needs to be very healthy. So I think a lot of people have a lot of work that they need to do within themselves before they try to get into another relationship. Okay? Especially within the youth. Honey, don't get me started. Don't get me started. Why do you think it's such a heavy outbreak of mental illness these days? Do you think it's really you, or do you think it's other people? What's causing you to be so depressed within yourself? So dependent on outside factors like substances, people, superficial things, when you need to seek something within yourself. You know what I mean? Like, what are you really doing? You need to do the work, for one. If you wanted to be in a relationship, you need to work within yourself. Okay? Seriously. Honey. But basically, back to the standards and expectations. I have high expectations and standards for myself that sometimes I don't meet. And I get very angry with myself. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes it's like, oh, I can do this better. I can do this better. I can do this better. And sometimes I don't have the means. I don't have the means. I don't have the resources to do the stuff that I would want to do, for the stuff to turn out how I would initially want it to turn out. You know what I'm saying? So I'm working with what I already have. Okay? And finessing a little bit. I am finessing a little bit. But I'm initially working with what I have. Okay? So there's that. We're back on that. But basically, the analogy that I use for it is a math analogy. Addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division, right? So if you have these standards and you have these expectations for yourself, other people, other factors should be adding and multiplying that, okay? First of all, baby, those standards need to be positive, okay? As far as your mental health, your physical health, and your emotional health. Okay? They need to be positive. That's not the opposite, honey. Don't think what I'm saying to you is the opposite of what it really means. Because it's not complex. It's really simple as fuck. And people got it confused. Like, I don't know where this whole being unhealthy mentally and physically and emotionally and being unwise and being crazy and being abusive became the new standard in relationships. Like, what? Why would you ever succumb to that way of thinking, to that way of life, to that way of existing within yourself and within the world, within the universe, and surrounded by all of these creatures and beautiful things? You know what I'm saying? There's like an ugliness to people now. Well, I don't even know. There's like an ugliness that's there that you need to fix. Okay? So basically, you need to add and multiply to those standards. The person that's coming into your space, if it's a happy, positive, healthy place, not saying it's perfect, but there has to be a grounded healthiness, a grounded positivity to you, a grounded sense of purpose and beauty to you. You know what I'm saying? You need to be grounded, okay? For one, within yourself, within the universe, within your goals, within everything that you are, okay? Thank you. And whoever's coming into your space, they need to add to that or multiply to it. All right? They shouldn't be subtracting or dividing. They shouldn't be breaking you in half, causing you to lose yourself. They shouldn't be subtracting any of that healthiness and happiness and groundedness that you initially cultivated for yourself for forever, right? Because that makes that person deeply unattractive to me, basically, okay? And they were talking about how if you were on a date, that person, if you wait for 3 hours, you shouldn't date them. Honey, you don't get 3 hours. You're lucky if you get 15 minutes because I value my time and I'm always on time for work and for, any other kind of meeting. And I learned to do that the hard way. People's time is precious. People shouldn't play about their time. Okay? That's something you need to know because time is money. And I'm about my money. Okay? How you should be. Right? Don't waste my time. Like, what are we even talking about? Seriously? So, I'm not perfect. They was talking about being clean. Like, if I'm within my space and it's a little dirty, look, I got stuff everywhere. It's potato chip bag right there because I was just snacking watching that bullshit ass YouTube video. I got fucking clothes everywhere because I was just doing my styling videos this morning. Like, generally, my space is not that dirty, but it's a little messy. You know what I mean? But I have my routines. Sometimes I keep them. Sometimes I switch it up. Sometimes I just do whatever I want, basically. But I have my routines. And if you come in and you break them in a negative way, there's no conversation. Like, why are we even talking to each other? You need to be a positive influence. Spiritually, emotionally, physically. You need to be a positive influence. You need to be damn near perfect. Okay? You need to be a fucking angel in order to exist within my space. Because I'm not having any other type of discord or unbalance within myself or my life. So if you bring any type of unbalance to me, we cannot have a conversation. Okay, honey? Like, there's no point in us talking. Let me take this off because it's getting on my nerves. Like, there's no point in us having a conversation. Okay, honey? You gotta go. You have to go. So those standards and expectations, have somebody, if you have positive, healthy, and harmonious, balanced, not perfect, perfectly imperfect standards and expectations for yourself and other people, and they're initially high, and you're trying to meet them yourself, for your happiness, okay? Don't deal with anybody giving you any type of crap or negativity externally. You know what I'm saying? Because if they're giving it to you in your mind, what do you think they're going to do in person? Hello? Why are we even... What's up? If they're giving it to you telepathically, why would you even want to have that conversation in person? There's no meeting of the minds, then there's no balance. It's an imbalance. And that shit needs to be cut off. It needs to be severed. So no, there's no having too high of an expectation for people to meet and you doubting yourself because of it and you crapping on yourself because of it. It's like, oh, I had all these expectations for this person and it's just like they didn't meet them. And it's like, basically they were talking about how you need a compromise. I'll compromise if you're worth it and if I see some type of consistency within your behaviors in order for me to want to compromise. And we're having clear and concise and honest communications, and your actions meet those communications mentally and physically. and emotionally and spiritually. Okay? Because there's rules to this, honey. And if you don't meet it, it's no point in us even trying to be into a fucking relationship. It's no point. You by yourself. I'm alone, happily, without it. Okay? That's what you need to know. Thank you.